Going into the parent tip, it's not as much a tip as it is, I just wanted to share some research that's coming out that I wanted to make people aware of. It's a little bit of a heavy topic, but there is some new research recently on a subject that we follow, and that is brain development. And in particular, they just completed the world's largest brain study of childhood trauma, which is revealing how trauma affects the brain development and rewires our really vital neural pathways. So we all develop, and trauma can interrupt that development. And so by studying it, it helps us all learn how our brains develop even more. So these were researchers at the University of Essex in the United Kingdom, and they used AI to go back and look at a bunch of other studies and re-examine functional MRI scans of more than 500 children. So that's what makes this the world's largest study of this kind, to analyze how the blood flows through the brain differently for children who've experienced trauma versus children who haven't. And it actually resulted in finding out that there are networks involved. They can see how the blood flows through the brain differently, that trauma seems to involve the problem-solving area of the brain, and interestingly to me, the self-focus area of the brain. So while we know young children who experience trauma are initially wiring up, and they're going to struggle as a result because their brain is wired differently. This study really homed in on what areas of the brain are impacted, and they are the areas that involve emotions, empathy, and understanding our bodies, which I found really fascinating. So currently, the science-based treatments for childhood trauma tend to focus on addressing fearful thoughts. So, you know, if you were hung over a tree limb up high as a child and you are traumatized by that, I mean, because this is not like all abuse and neglect. I mean, it can be, we all have our moments, right, that impact our brain and the way we respond later in life. So right now, the therapeutic intervention would be to stay away from things that trigger those kinds of feelings, right? This study suggests, however, that it's only treating part of the problem and could mean that therapists should focus on techniques that can actually rewire these brain centers and rebuild a children's sense of self. So I think it's what that tells me for the majority of children who are not traumatized is that there's a lot of building of sense of self happening in these early childhood years. We know that intuitively, but it's very interesting to see it confirmed in this way through a study. So it gives us hope that we can develop more interventions that can, you know, if developed and applied early, can help people long term. Because we know what happens to us in early childhood impacts us for the rest of our lives. So the piece of news I wanted to give was this kind of ties in. We had applied for a federal grant. We found out recently we received it. Very excited about that because our strategic plan calls for us to serve all children. So you know we're eyeballing new locations like St. George to get to more children, but we also know we have to be ready to serve different types of children because we want all children to experience the museum. So even children that have had traumatic experiences. But to do that, our staff needs to be trained. So this federal grant is going to allow us to work with Columbia College's Resilience Institute up in Columbia, just up the road. But they have a real specialty in this area, and we've applied for the grant together and received it, and it's going to help train our staff to deal with even a broader range of children and to be able to become a trauma-informed agency, so be certified for that. So that we'll be the first in the Children's Museum in the state. I don't know about nationally, but to move into this area so that we can be even more of a resource to more children and families in the Low Country.
It's amazing how much you guys are just constantly evolving and growing. It's amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're a force.
No, we got a lot of kids we want to serve.
Yes,
so
you're certainly doing that. Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you.